of the Arizona Production Association, welcome to the Future of Film in Arizona Town Hall. So glad you're here. My name's Jason Isaac. I'm the president of the board of directors for the Arizona Production Association. I'd like to thank everyone that helped make this happen. Sun Studios, Judy Moore, Randy Murray, John Bonnell, Joe Gruberman, Steve Wargo and his team, Julie Lee, and a whole bunch of others that I'm probably leaving out there. Want to thank all the panelists that are here. We're going to get to their talks very, very quickly. And most importantly, thanks to each of you for being here, and for those who are watching online or will be watching a recorded version. I think it'll be housed on YouTube, if I understand correctly. You guys are what makes the film community here in Arizona. As I said at the APA annual meeting back in January, for anyone that was there, we are all storytellers. Some of us, like me, perform. I'm in front of the camera. I am not behind the camera. I am not crew, and in fact, I'm not even listed in our directory in the APA. I'm a sustaining member, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I am reminded of Alfred Hitchcock's famous saying, which is, I never said all the actors were cattle. I just said all actors should be treated like cattle. So I don't. Hey, that's me. So, but the rest of you are the ones who ensure that the stories are seen, they're heard, and they're presented in memorable ways. And tonight we're here to talk about how we can all tell more stories and do our best to make a living doing what we love. So each panelist will speak for a few minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the conclusion of the presentations. And we're going to begin with Darren Ramage, the CEO of Sun Studios. Here's the clicker, if you've got.
What's a clicker do?
If you got slides,
No, that's too complicated for me. I'm just going to kind of read off of this, what I have right here for you guys. Some kind of words we just put together a little bit ago. The film industry, as we all know, is in a constant change, and the technologies that we have to keep up with the trends. Hollywood is now, obviously, it's a global enterprise, and Arizona must join with better stories, quality filmmaking, and with the higher standards. Sun Studios is doing its part as a film school with ASU. In just 1 year, guys, the film ASU student body, faculty of the Herberger Institute of Film, specifically just the film department, went from 600 to 850 in 1 year since coming into the studios, which is awesome. Our purpose is to promote filmmaking, television, and other media creations in the state of Arizona through my own film distribution companies, which are located upstairs. We're developing relationships with producers around the world and encourage them to relocate their productions here in the state of Arizona. Sun Studios is actively promoting the benefits of Arizona production companies nationwide, and we're doing this to companies nationwide, Canada, and especially down in Mexico right now. It is estimated that in 2018, that over 550 television shows and 12,000 movies will be created for the North America entertainment market. New productions for Amazon and Netflix and Apple. Their budget at the beginning of this year was $19 billion, that's with a B, not an M, $billion, new productions. And these are all more reasons why I know we're all, doing what we need to do. Hopefully everybody's doing what they need to do to help to bring the incentives back, and I'm sure that's a big one we talked about. One of the things that Sun Studios is doing right now, we've created a media fund that we are raising capital for to shine a national and world spotlight on Arizona as an important filmmaking destination. And we hope this will attract new business and build new media industry relationships that will endure for a long time. So I want to thank you guys all for being here. If you want to check this place out, you need a tour or anything like that, grab anybody from this place and we'll show you around. And welcome to Sun Studios. Thank you.
Should we be holding the mics, or what's best for you? Sure. Thanks, Darren. Wow. Okay, there we go. Next up is the man who needs no introduction, Matthew Earl Jones has, are we at 2.5, how long? Less than 2 years. Wow, time flies. Matthew Earl Jones is the director of the Arizona Office of Film and Digital Media, and please come up. You are, okay.
Is this? Do you have the presentation up?
Yes, right there.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you. I want to talk kind of about what we're doing and also kind of how we can look at this from a statewide approach as opposed to individual little markets. Wait, sorry. Technology is not my strong point. So state support. So in the 20 some odd months, in the 20 months that we've been open,
go ahead.
These are some of the accomplishments of things that have happened. So we reopened in 2016, free use of state roads, dedicated person at the highway patrol. We're about to start vetting for a statewide production directory. We have a location partnership with Mexico.
We handed you the wrong one. There we go.
We know each other for a long time, so he loves to do this to me.
So the previous guy laid it down in the wrong place. So it's
Always blame talent. Always. Preferably if they're not in the room to defend themselves. The governor declared us a target established industry in 2017. The Parks Department has given us free use of parks and trails. We have a real saving discount program that some of the vendors here, such as Real Men, are participating in with a cash rebate, and we have a new program called the Film Resource Coordinator. I know some of you have already heard this, but for people who don't, I'm going to try to go through this quickly. When we started in fiscal 17, which was actually 7 months, we had only 19 assists. Of course, we were reopening the office and getting things going again. In fiscal 18, really our first year, we had 131 assists. This does not include all the ones done by Phoenix and Tucson and Flag and Hume and all the other film offices. These are just the ones that we actually assisted on, and they came to fruition. Thus far, in 2 months, we're at 31, so we've got about a 42% increase. So the fact that we're out there is working and people are calling. So when we opened up, our slogan was, "We're back," because that's what you say when you've been gone for 6 years. While at Focus, people kept coming up and saying, "Oh, you're Arizona, you have deserts, right?" And we go, "Yes." And they go, "I don't need a desert." They start to walk away. So Steve Brain and I would tackle them and show them the 2002 Arizona Highways, A Land for All, that showed that we have the most diverse topography in the country. So our branding then became Arizona is America's backlot, which we are still using that as a tagline. For this year going forward, we're going with a much more aggressive choice, a much more aggressive slogan, excuse me, that we are the right choice right next door. And this value proposition is on the homepage of our website. We are positioning ourselves to be the home of independent production for projects under $20 million with a focus to new media and advanced technologies, independent production, and as Darren said, the major players are now Netflix and Amazon. That's really changed from the older business models. One reason we're doing this, and I know other people are going to talk about tax credits, is because right now Arizona does not have a state tax credit, which everybody in the room knows. To answer the next question, when people ask me why don't I do something about that, if anybody wants to ask that, please feel free, is because I don't have that authority. I am not an elected official, I am an appointed official. So when people come to me with ideas, I try to route them to the AFMC. And they're working with our office and with particularly Matt Contarelli, who is our legislative liaison, to make sure that what they're doing is consistent with what the state legislature is thinking. At the ACA, we talk about, when we talk business attraction and business expansion, we talk about our infrastructure. We talk about it on a statewide level, so that we have airports, we have roads, we have a railway system, our colleges and university, our quality of life. We need to talk about Arizona's state film infrastructure. The film offices that we have, the film resource coordinators, one of the most talented workforces on the planet, our vendors and our talent. So we're trying to move now to get people not to think, well, if you go to this market, there is these vendors who have this amount of equipment. Because people look and they'll say, well, if there's 3 jobs in that market, there's no equipment or crew for me. So they bring everybody from LA. So we need to stop that. That's something that is working in commerce where we're about jobs. That's our main focus. So one way we can stop that is to not say, this vendor has that, and this vendor has that, and in this market there's that, but to talk about our state totals. You know, when people talk about Hollywood, they talk about tens of thousands of actors. So chances are you can get one. They talk about all the equipment, they talk about all the crews. I would like to suggest that we may want to look at a more statewide approach and realize that we can work throughout the state, to kind of look beyond our own little areas and our own comfort zone and see how we can support each other and bring more jobs to the state. Because people go to northern Arizona and they think there's no crew and there's no equipment. They bring even their extras and their PAs. These are jobs we are losing. These are projects that are coming here without a tax credit. They're here, and we need to capture a greater percentage of those jobs for people in Arizona. The way we're going to do that is to let people know our statewide resources. When the office was open, we had 7 film offices. I'm happy to say now we have 12. And actually, the Peoria Page, I didn't realize you guys had acquired Page. Wow. So I don't have to go that far north to go to the lake. That is really good news. So I'm not going to be mad that I didn't check that or Ramsey put it up there. I'm just going to see that was an acquisition without a shot being fired. Speaking of the Peoria and Page Film Commission, would you stand, please, Dave? Please welcome the Peoria Film Commissioner. He probably heard that Page had let theirs go and was getting a new one, so he put himself in. Did you call Ramsey and make that deal?
They got a lake, we have a lake, right next to it.
I'm not mad at you, but I still want to be able to count 5 new ones, not 4, okay? A lot of areas that people want to go shoot at are not served by a local film office. So much like Texas's film-friendly community, we've reached out and asked people in the community to work on behalf of the film office. And to date, all 15 counties are represented, and we have added 33 film resource coordinators to date. So there's 33 film resource coordinators and 5 new local film offices. If I'm doing my math right, that's 38 people new that are now dedicated to helping all of us work. Obviously, again, no tax credits. So what we've done is we've looked at the below-the-line expense. We've looked at hotels, rental cars, restaurants. I'm happy to say that Marriott has come on board statewide as the official hotel sponsor for the Real Savings Program. And with their acquisition of Starwood properties, that pretty much is a whole bunch of hotels. What that means is that anybody involved in film production in the state of Arizona, and I mean anybody, local, not just out of state, because at some point I'd like to be in the business of exporting content, not importing jobs. So everyone, all these programs are open to everyone. All you have to do is you answer about 5 questions when you register with the state film office. That's it. There's no application. It's not capped. It's an unlimited opportunity, and I'm happy to say that not only have the businesses supported this, but our own community has supported it. Several of our vendors are offering a cash rebate on the money that they receive within 30 days. Real Men is participating in that program. Please give them a round of applause. So right now we have 57 vendors that are a part of this program, and they range from equipment vendors to hotels to restaurants to rent-a-cars. We're in negotiations right now with Enterprise. The Arizona Commerce Authority is already on account with them, and they have production vehicles. So we're looking at making a deal with them that they would be our official rental car sponsor. So if you are a business and you'd like to be a participant in this, please let us know. And now, after several conversations, with the blessing of the existing databases that are out there, the state will be putting out a listing statewide of all the crew and vendors in the state. Because sometimes they'll call a local film office, or sometimes they'll call the state. So it's important that we're all on all these lists. So no matter who they call, you are seen. So we have already opened it up. We've got several hundred people, and we're now going to be doing the vetting process. Our goal is to be able to go live in mid-December. If you are an APA full member in good standing, you are automatically vetted in. And if you're a member of any of the other databases you're in, other than that, same kind of, we need a pay stub and a call sheet for any category you want to be listed in, very much like the LA 4-1 or the Northern California Directory or any of the other ones. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matthew, very much. All right, let's head down south. As a native Tucsonan, it's an honor to introduce Shelley Hall, who has, for 20-plus years, we'll say 21 years, has been the film commissioner down in Tucson. And we are so glad you came up here today to let us know what's going on down there.
Thank you, Sun Studios, for hosting this, and APA for your stalwart foundational support always. I think they were at my very first meeting down in Tucson, community meeting that we had 21 years ago, and actually APA was on my hiring committee as well. So thank you.
Board members that are Tucsonans.
Jason is a Tucsonan.
Well, I'm a native, but no, they live in Tucson.
Oh,
right now.
Rachel.
And Greg.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're glad about that. And so I'm here to just give you a quick snapshot of what's going on in Tucson and Southern Arizona in terms of the types of productions we have and the production spending that's going on. So from January 2017 till now, we've documented $13.5 million in direct spending, that's with no multiplier, et cetera, by these productions. And those are productions that we've had a hand in facilitating, sometimes helping bring here, et cetera, et cetera. And our region goes from Tucson, Pima County, Santa Cruz and Cochise counties, which are along the southern border, and then sometimes we assist on the other side of the border as well when needed. So that's what we're doing, and I just gave a presentation to our stakeholders this week, and they wanted a 3-year snapshot, and that was almost 26 million, I guess, and it turned out that we're averaging about 9 million in direct spending every year, which is pretty good considering, you know, Netflix and Amazon aren't bringing their business here. So the kind of production we're getting in the last year and a half has Episodics have won out. You know, they don't spend a lot, but when you have 50 in a year and a half, it adds up pretty quickly. So they've had the most economic impact. Then TV series, and that's because we've been fortunate to have 2 seasons of a hit Fox Televisa Made for Mexico series called Run Coyote Run. It's a half-hour comedy. So they've come for 2 seasons. We're thrilled about it. They stay longer, you know, they stayed longer the first season than they planned, and the second season even longer, and they're coming back for a third. So you maybe, yeah, we're happy, and Matthew and I are working on a plan with some other Mexico partners to try to streamline that shooting along the border, because that is a great location for us. Then, as you can see, it's feature films, indie films. We get quite a few, a lot of westerns that happen at Old Tucson. And we actually have an independent film here right now, and the reason they came to Arizona and scouted quite a bit of the state was because of the Real Savings Program that Matthew just told you about. And they're at Lowe's Ventana Canyon right now shooting The Bellman, so hopefully that'll be at one of our festivals soon. Then it's commercial advertising and commercial print. So obviously, we'd like to have more commercials down in southern Arizona, so if any of you are producers of commercials, please come on down. We'll help you out. Slide 2 is just a snapshot of some of our highlights. And Rachel Davidson from Neil Benton Entertainment Insurance, based in Tucson, will have copies of this and the pie chart on your way out if you'd like one. So I won't go through all those highlights, but I'm on the board of the Arizona Film and Media Coalition. I've actually been on the board since it started, and I'm very optimistic about this year, this coming year, and the plans and the strategy that we have in place. And we really need your support, and that's why we're doing this. We did the same Future of Film in Arizona in Tucson, May 21st. We're doing it again in Flagstaff, and they're going to tell you more about that, but I just wanted to make a personal appeal for your support. We think it can happen this year, but we need your support. And go to our GoFundMe campaign and help us out there so we can do it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Next up, we have got Phil Bradstock, who is the Phoenix Film Commissioner. And Phil, come on up and tell us what's going on here. We're going to use that one.
So I don't have any slide presentations because I just found out yesterday they were going to do slides, and so you have my logo. So there you go for today. So the Future Film in Arizona, specifically in Phoenix, which is what I'll talk about, I oversee the defined boundaries of the city of Phoenix. So I issue the permits for Phoenix, but like if you're in Tempe, you have to go through Tempe, but because there really isn't anybody for Greater Phoenix, I kind of jump into that role and try and help out as I can. When you talk about the impact numbers that have gone on for this past fiscal year, in Greater Phoenix, and what I do is I send surveys out to every production that I work with, and then I also survey all the local production companies as well to say, hey, I know you shot on your own personal sound stage, but you're in Greater Phoenix. How many jobs were there? How many actors were there? Were there any hotel room nights? So I aggregate all this data. So for the fiscal year of 2017, 2018, which we go July to June, if that makes any sense, it's a government thing. We had $18.2 million in direct spend here in the Greater Phoenix area, which was actually up about 47% from the prior fiscal year. We also saw 1,800 different projects that were out here. We saw 1,600 actual shoot days out here and about 4,700 jobs here in the greater Phoenix area. All of those numbers are up. The only one that was down was hotel rooms, but I think that that's okay, as long as we're up on everything else. As far as like the future goes, it's definitely been interesting. The film office in Phoenix has actually been around since 1974, so it's 44 years old. I've been doing it for 12 years now, and when I started, that was in 2006, which is right when we had the incentive. It had just taken place, and I just kind of walked into a really good situation. We definitely saw a tremendous amount of business as a result of those incentives, but upon their sunset in December of 2010, coupled with the recession at the same time, there was a lot going on out here. We really have never seen those major movies come back here or those really high dollar projects. Yes, we had Transformers come out here, but it was only for 10 days, and it was just because of a junkyard that was out on the north side of the Deer Valley Airport, and they added in other projects. So we really don't get any of those major movies anymore because they're looking for some sort of an incentivized state. So really where my focus has been and has to be is more on the commercial side. Commercials, still photography, those type of projects, and those have also evolved too, because if you were working in the business back in '06, you probably, and you were on location, you were probably using film. You really weren't all digital at that point, and film requires a lot of people. But digital, now that everybody's doing digital, crews have gotten down much smaller, there's much less jobs, budgets are shrinking, and so that's definitely, I think, a challenge. I know a lot of people aren't making their normal rates that they made a couple of years ago, despite the fact that all of these jobs are being created. But just technology is taking less people to make projects. And I don't know the answer to that. I think it's probably only just going to continue on. But it is just something to think about when you talk about the future of film. But there's no question that when Arizona did have an incentive between those 5 years, off the top of my head, I believe the numbers were 56 projects shot that actually went through the program, and almost about $110 million was spent throughout the state of Arizona. So movies like Piranha 3D that shot in like Havasu, that was part of it. We had Middlemen that shot in shot in the greater Phoenix area. A lot of other projects like that. So without some sort of an incentive, and I'm not lobbying for it, and I'm not lobbying against it, but as Matthew said, I'm an employee. It's up to the elected officials to say whether or not the city of Phoenix will be supporting a film incentive, and I will definitely carry that banner forward if legislation is introduced for certain. But without that incentive, really my focus has had to come down to commercials, because those tend to be the biggest bang for the buck and hire the most people. So keep it short, and thank you.
All right. And now, we got one. There we go. So for those of you who do not know what the APA is, it's a nonprofit professional association which has been around in one form or another for a little over 3 decades. And our core purpose is to foster business growth and professional development for our members. And that we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we have supporting members like me. I mentioned that I'm not actually part of our production directory because I'm not a production professional. But we also have full members who have gone through a verification process to ensure that if they say they're a key grip, then they have the references and the call sheets to qualify to be listed in the Arizona Production Guide. We are so pleased to have had those conversations, Matthew, and pleased that you recognize the value of being a member of the APA and having that be kind of a stamp of approval going into to the state's directory. Every organization, frankly, just us as people, need to evaluate where we are, and we've been in the process at the APA of doing that in 2018. We want to promote and support our members, and by extension, the broader film and digital media community as best we can. In 2018, in fact, I'll have the slide at the very end. azproduction.com is our website, and if you go there, we've got a brand new website that's been under development for, oh, Julie, it's like having a child. It's taken a little longer than anyone hoped or expected, but we've got a new website up that is very slick, very elegant to to navigate, and I hope you all check it out. And I would also say that on there you can link and connect with us on Facebook and Twitter and I think Instagram, and that way you can keep track of some of the other things that are going on. Gear Expo coming up. We've got mixers coming up. The next one's at Thirsty Lion. Which Thirsty Lion? There you go. Should be a great time. No agenda except to build community. And we've got Ladies Film Night Out, 5th year of that. And I think we've had probably more submissions this year from ladies who are either producing, directing, writing, something at that top production echelon. And it's apparently a fantastic group of movies that the judges right now are having to go through. And we're also doing membership engagement. We do an annual survey. It comes along with ballots and things like that, but we're trying a digital outreach this year and have had some success. Otto Daniolo is our member at large. He attends board meetings. He does not vote, but he is the one who is the interloper, as it were, between our members and the board. And really the highlights of this latest Survey Monkey that we just got back is our members care about 3 things above and beyond many of the other things that the APA does: maintain a directory, facilitate industry networking, and promote and market our members. And we're going to keep doing that, and that's going to be the focus as we move forward into 2019. Judy Moore, who helped pull all this together. Judy, where are you? Where? Oh, okay. Is our president-elect, so she'll be the president in January, so you don't have to listen to me again after this. But very excited for what lies ahead for the APA. As I mentioned earlier, when Shelley came up, we've got 2 board members from Tucson. We're excited about the geographic expansion of the APA. We just want to welcome IATSE 748, the broadcast technicians. We have a whole slew, over 40, I believe, that have come into the APA and are part of this community now. We're very excited about that. Leah Williams is here, and thank you for all your efforts on that. We have some renewed interest on the part of member volunteers. We're working on a marketing framework so that we can begin advancing the ball, so we can make sure producers, ad firms, and others from across the country and beyond know that Arizona has the top-notch production professionals, and Arizona is where they need to bring their projects. And totally agree, though, we'd love to be an exporter. So it's all a process, and we believe that everything that each of us does has ripple effects, and APA wants to be part of the overall effort to collaborate with all of you and elevate the industry. So if you have questions about becoming a member or want to get more involved as a member, come seek one of us out that's on the board, or Julie Lee, who has been kind of the backbone of the APA for so many years. And we look forward to working with you and supporting all these film offices all over the state and being a part of the solution that we're all looking for, which is to bring more work, more jobs, and more ability to tell stories here in Arizona. So quick update there from the APA. And I would like to now introduce Ken George, who is the president of the Arizona Film and Media Coalition. He's been there about 3 months, and welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Ken George. I am in the video game business, and we're very closely related to film and TV. It may not seem immediately, but we're all in entertainment, and I'm very passionate about the quality of life here in Arizona, and we've been able to reform Rainbow Studios, which was the largest game studio here in Arizona. Let's see, in 2013, we started with 8 people. Now we're 40 people, and we'll be hopefully 50 by the next year. But I became involved in the AFMC because I saw the difference it made to bring incentives here to Arizona, and when those sunset, like we're all aware of, it made a really big difference, and it made, I had my own studio for a while, and it made us less competitive with other states like Louisiana, Georgia, New Mexico, and Canada. In my business, there's thousands and thousands of jobs that have gone on to studios in Canada that can be done here, and there's thousands of Americans that have moved up there to work at some of the big publishers there. So it's a shame to see so much business go elsewhere. So I'm very passionate about bringing more business here for everybody. And one thing that we always got questions from publishers, and I'm sure every filmmaker and TV production person gets this, is what kind of incentives do you have in Arizona? Oh, nothing? Well, we're going to look elsewhere. And they have pressures back in their studios or whoever their partners are to take advantage of everything they can. And because budgets of the biggest movies are getting very, very expensive, it's really hard for them to justify going to a state that doesn't have it. So at the AFMC, we're really dedicated to bringing the incentives back, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. So we're really looking for job development here in Arizona, permanent jobs that last all the time, and that makes a really big difference. And we need to do that through education. So one, we need to educate the general public about that the tax incentives are about jobs here now. They're not boondoggles for big Hollywood studios and that kind of thing, because the money stays here. These are to incentivize jobs here. And we also need to educate our lawmakers that this is our, the jobs stay here, and this is, what it's for. So Randy Murray is going to be talking about some of the legislative action plans that we have, and part of that we'll be working with one of the most notable lobbyists here in Arizona, Barry Aarons. He's extremely effective and knows our business thoroughly, and has been working with AFMC for a long time, and he's very intimately familiar with the issues that our industry has. So let's see, our legislative committee have developed a 3-year plan, which Randy's going to talk about, but the goals are to attract film and media work here, create industry jobs, and then export our content all over the world like we do with whether it's film, TV, video games, or what have you. So I think Randy, I'm going to introduce you, Randy Murray. He's the chair of our legislative committee, and he's going to go into detail all the things that we're going to be doing. I'm really excited about the momentum that we have.
Thank you, Ken. I'll try to be brief because get to the Q&A, but I want to thank everybody up here and everybody who's come and everybody who's watching, because this meeting about the future of film in Arizona is really about the people who are in the film business, and that whether it's gaming or TV production or commercial production or actual films, this is about us. This is a thing we're trying to do as volunteers and community members that's about this community. So that's the most important. What we need to do is we need to speak with one voice, and we need to speak loudly as we can. We need to because we're a shrinking community, we need to speak like we're more than what we are. And that's going to be up to you. And to do that, we have to be mobilized and connected. We'll get to that more. And we're going to do really smart lobbying. You see the industries we're targeting. As Matthew pointed out, we're going for independent creators. We're going for this a little bit smaller. We're going to target smaller industries. And we're going to try to create, we're trying to be different. We're not going to try to invent or try to replicate what they're doing in New Mexico. We're not going to replicate what they're doing in Canada. We're going to try to be a little bit more inventive, a little bit more original, and we're going to try to do stuff that creates an industry that's permanently here in this community, so that we have content developers here working, living, and going to school and all that stuff, and we're going to try to be exporting that. So we've met with lobbyists, we've met with politicians, we've met with the community members, that's what we're doing right now. And we've developed a wish list of things that we're going to try to accomplish. It's going to take 3 years, we think, but we think we can do this. If we as a community get together and speak up, if we speak with a single voice, if we do it, if we get off our duff and actually do it, we will win this. We can do this. We have a wish list of several things. These are not your standard film incentive programs. You know, we have things that we feel are really important. Permanent funding for the state office, a tax rebate, all of these things, and we can talk more in detail about these items on here and these items here. They're all great, and they will make a difference in our industry and how much work we all get. You know, we all know that way back when we had an incentive, we were getting more work. Our little company has clients today that we got when we had an incentive. They wouldn't have come without the incentive, and they've been a client ever since. We need to continue to do that. We need to get more of those. So we have a lot of things we're hoping for, but as the lobbyist refers to them as unicorns, we have to, they're on our wish list. Yes, we're not making any promises, but we're aiming high. This is the most important thing. We have to be mobilized. We need everybody to speak up, get their friends. You go to the website, to the AMFC website. Here, let's see here. Oh, I'll get back to that. All right, so we go to the website. We have to, you will get on a list. Put your names in, you put your phone number, you put your address. They'll tell you who your congressional district is, and then we'll only reach out to you when it's time to call a politician. Got a call yesterday from our lobbyist. He's stressing how important it is right now before the election. This is the time that we need to be mobilized. This is the time we need to speak up. We need to call people who are running. You only have 6, maybe you even have less, but you only have 6 people running for state house in your district. 6 phone calls, 6 emails. That's all you need to do. And then you can get your neighbors and your friends and people who care about our industry to do the same. You will not believe how fast we will have incentives. We have to do this. But to do this, we have to be coordinated. So get on the mobilization list. We will send you the emails that when the time is right, and it's going to be really soon. When the time is right, we'll send you the emails. You call your legislative candidates. You tell them you work in the film industry and that you vote. And that's all you have to do. It's not hard. But it's not all you have to do. So this is the pre-election stuff. Post-election comes, then we have to call in our chips. We have to call them in and say, you won, you told me this before I voted, and now we got a lobbyist knocking on your door. We want you to support that bill. And there will be a series of bills. We're not going to do this as a single bill. There's going to be a series of bills that we're going to put forth based upon what the politicians give us feedback. That feedback is going to be dependent upon how many we call pre-election and post-election. That's going to be the key thing. If they think we are a force to be reckoned with, they will be much more favorable as they craft those bills. The other thing we need help with is paying for the darn lobbyists. They're expensive. We're getting an incredible lobbyist, an incredible discount because his father was in the industry. He's worked for the city of Tucson for a long time. He really wants us to succeed. And he is just great, but it's still expensive. He's $20,000 a year. We got a 3-year plan. He says we need about $10,000 to have events that we can invite the politicians to. So it's $30,000 a year we're trying to raise. That's $90,000 we'd like to do right away. Sounds like a lot of money, but it's not. It's a smart investment. If you made if you were an actor and you were in a part in a movie or a TV show that came here and you made $350, give $5 so that you can do that 3 more times in a few years. If you're a gaffer or a grip or a crew member and you made, you know, a few $1,000s, give $50. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot, but if we do it as a community, we'll raise that $90,000 in a heartbeat. There's the GoFundMe thing. You see, we got a good start already. Yeah. So it's real, it's happening, but we need the community. The one thing I really want to stress is that, in my opinion, there are 2 kinds of politicians. The kinds that want to do something for the community and the kinds that want to do something for themselves. So the good news is both of those politicians, both of those prototypes are listening to the voters. They're listening to us. If we call them, they will respond. And I can't tell you how odd it is to hear a politician say, oh my God, I got 7 calls last year from people in the film industry. I am going to support you guys. You know, 7, okay. Think of if it's 70, all right? So get on the mobilization list. We'll let you know what your district is, who your leaders, who your candidates are, and we'll send you their emails, and we will get this done.
Just hand these out. What's that? Yellow one. All right. Let's have some questions. I'm gonna give you at least 1 mic. You can share up here. We'll start up here.
All right. Do you want us to stand or no?
Your call. You got a mic, so.
All right. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you guys so much for hosting this event and for really connecting a lot of us here. I'm one of the people who goes to all the disparate groups throughout the valley to try to figure out what there is to do, and now that we're actually aiming for the incentives and for an established film program, it's really moving forward. But I have 2 principal questions. First is really going back towards education. A lot of you guys were mentioning that you want people to live, train, and go to school here. The first person mentioned that ASU has a partnership with here, which is phenomenal. Yet, as a recent alum of them, I can tell you, every single one of those professors who teaches anything about the non-creative elements of our industry presents as official curriculum to run like hell from Arizona the minute you get your degree. I will swear on my life and on my honor that that is still true to this day. Unfortunately, and the one thing that I've seen is there hasn't been anybody besides me and a handful of other people sporadically who have come from the Sun Devil Nation to actually integrate into this community. One thing I would like to see, and I'm not particularly sure about Flagstaff or Tucson, and I don't know about their respective universities and how their film schools work, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of overlap in how that goes down. What is your guys' overall plan to get the people who are training in film here and the next generation of filmmakers to actually stay here to create? And the second thing is kind of building on that. I'm lucky in that I'm a professional videographer by trade. I have a stable salaried income. Most people don't. But how do a lot of these organizations that are really based on freelance models of membership, where you need to get like call sheets and you need to have pay stubs that are specific for film productions, how would you connect people like me into that kind of a world, so that way if we wanted to transfer into that, we can show that yes, we're established, we know what we're doing, we're professionals, but we are not necessarily on set as much as anyone else. Thank you.
To getting the word out, I would say I would look to joining the APA. I mean, there are organizations like that that are out there lobbying on your behalf, and if you're in addition, if you're in Tucson, I would sign up for the Tucson Film database there. If you're Northern Arizona, Flag has one, and we will have one too. And certainly, if you've got that experience, we want to know about you. I think one of the things that happens is there's the belief that we don't have the crew and the talent and everything here, that we are fundamentally a location-driven state. And our blessing is somewhat of a curse, because we've been able to rely on that. But we have great crew, we have great talent, but we need to let people know that. So hopefully combining our databases will help make that happen. So I would say join the APA, get on as many lists as you can, and let people know what you have to offer.
So as part of our education of our legislators, we're looking for very specific case studies, and I think, your point of all these very, very talented people are leaving, a fantastic school here and going to California or wherever they go for their jobs is a perfect example of data points that we need to bring to our lawmakers to keep people here in Arizona.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to address the Sun Devil issue. Go Devils. We're doing something really great here in our education community. ASU is being very inventive. They're being very clever. They're doing really good stuff. Scottsdale Community College is doing the same. There are lots of community colleges or junior colleges and universities all over the state doing a really great job. And I don't blame those professors for telling their students to go to LA. We don't have a thriving community here yet. It's up to us as a community, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's up to us to make this happen. So let's get together, let's make it happen.
Just one thing you asked, when you asked about what are we doing to try to keep students from the University of Arizona Film and Television Program and the Hanson Film Institute, what are we doing to keep them there? Well, I don't know if we're doing, I agree with Randy, it's good for them to get out to get some experience, and then if they want to come back or if they want to stay, we're doing a lot in Tucson for creators. We're bringing, Allison Anders is going to be there next week. She, a woman director who produced Gas, Food, and Lodging and some other films. We have filmmakers coming October 11th through the 13th to the Film Fest Tucson, including Catherine Hardwick, who directed Twilight. She's doing a master class, directing class for free on Saturday afternoon, and I encourage any filmmakers here to come down for that. Her film will be showing later that night. We partner with the university and the Hanson Film Institute to bring alum back and to try to encourage that. I want those alum to come back here and film, and so we're developing those relationships. But we're trying to connect people, and we have a very a pretty big independent film Arizona group down there that of documentary makers, and they network like APA, and it's just a rich community when it comes to film, and that's all I'm going to say for now.
One thing I wanted to add, there are professional people in this room who are already reaching out to the universities. Steve Wargo, I'm going to embarrass him, but I know that he always tries to bring new people in on every project. So one way to keep people here and younger people who know the new technologies is to work with them, reach out to them. If you have a skill, if you're working, there's that tendency to keep supporting our friends. Let's not forget the next generation. Okay, so I think it's a two-way street. I think this is a great question. I think it's a complex problem, and it's going to be probably a lot of people doing a little to turn it around as opposed to one person doing a lot. But I would say if you have a business and you have jobs to offer, do not overlook the colleges, the community colleges. That's how you build those relationships, so when people get out of school, they've already worked, they've got those ties, and that's a good reason for them to stay, no matter what their professor says, because half their professors come from LA, okay? And so I think we need to do more, all of us. We bring in interns from the colleges. I think that's going to be a big part, so that people know they can be mentored and hired by the working professionals in the state of Arizona.
Thanks.
Hi, Randy. So I just want to add to what you just said. I'm a filmmaker here, and I'm actually from LA too. I'm a professor at ASU. I teach screenwriting.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but I wanted to just bring up that when you talk about bringing people from Arizona State into the process, I didn't have a lot of money to make my film, and I'm sure everybody in this room has had that same experience. So one of the things I did was I had students from Scottsdale Community College, students from ASU get internship credit. So they weren't getting a lot of money, but a course credit is worth a lot more money than anything I could have possibly given them. And I also have to say, the level of talent that I got was pretty amazing. I mean, I was shocked at how good, how well trained these people were. I don't think I could have asked for more. I also want to just bring up the thing about going to LA. I shot my film in Mesa, and pretty much I went into their government office. They said, "What are you doing?" It's like, "I'm making this film. I need this alley. I need to be able to use this street." They said, "Okay," and they left me alone. Like, I never heard from them again. And in LA, it would take so much paperwork, so many permits, so much money, so much hassle. And when I shot in Mesa, it was absolute heaven. Everybody just stayed out of the way. I don't even think anybody knew I was there. And the value of that is enormous. Anyway, I just wanted the crews here are incredible. I was able to make my film for much less money because of giving students internship credit. I wanted to ask, though, there was a thing on one of the PowerPoints. There were problems with the tax incentive. I've actually never known what those were, and I feel like we should all know what they are so we make sure we don't do it again. What did we do? What went wrong, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen again?
Hand him the mic. I wasn't the commissioner at the time, but if he...
Yep.
What happened is we had a tax credit that we were offering people, and then what happened... Where's the mic? Oh. Hello. We had a tax credit, and as soon as it became available in January, what happened is all the filmmakers rushed in and put in their applications, only they didn't have funding for their film. So they put in their applications, they were granted their piece of the pie, and then when it came for them to actually make their films, they were trying to raise money based on their tax credit. And these tax credits were going unused because they never could raise the money. And that got the state upset. And they said, well, here we are, we offer these things, but yet none of these are even being made because the people don't even have the money. So they were being unused, and the state just said, well, why are we even bother doing this? And that was the biggest problem we ran into, because I was trying to make films myself, and it just seemed like that was a roadblock, is that the people that applied right away, and boom, that money was gone instantly, or at least it was allocated instantly. So there was nothing left, and then at the end of the year, hardly any of it was even being used. So that was a big problem. And that's the kind of stuff we need to show before we should be even allowed to apply for any tax credit, that we show that there is money in an escrow account, that we have the funds in order to make the film and not base it on a tax credit.
A couple of things. That wasn't the only problem with our tax program. Another one was that it was a tax, and I'll get this wrong, transferable tax credit. So when you made a film, you got a certificate from the state that you had to sell to a middleman. We sold ours to some guy out of Louisiana, and he sold it to somebody else, and it just wasn't clean. It wasn't. So yes, we are working to do things much smarter, and much different. You know, one of the things on our wish list is a seed incentive. So it's not a tax thing. It's if you're putting up your money to do a pilot or to do a short or to do something on your dime, the state will help you as a local content developer, so that we're raising up our directors, our producers, our writers, our people, not the ones from Louisiana, not the ones from LA or New York or London.
And I'll just add a third thing that was an issue with the legislation too that I heard a lot was in the very first year, I believe it was 25% local hires you had to have. The second year was 35% local hires, and then the third year was 50%. Well, the first year we did really well. We had about 3 big projects. Second year is when, as the gentleman in the back was saying, everybody basically applied with no money, and all of a sudden the money was gone. I remember talking to Sony, and they said they wanted to bring some movie of the weeks out here, or some pilots out here rather, that could maybe be movie of the weeks if they failed. And he couldn't get into the program. He said there was really no guarantee. But then he said, you guys don't have the workforce, because basically that second year didn't really exist. So we didn't have the ability to really train people up to get them into unions in order for them to hit the 50% hiring requirement. So like the gentleman who was producing The Kingdom when he was out here, after that he said, I'll never come back, because there's absolutely no way I'm going to get 50% Arizona residents unless you've got some massive movie with a ton of background extras in it that would qualify for it. But he said numerically you just don't have it out there yet.
I would say there's a fourth issue, which when, let's see, the bill came to get renewed, there was quite a bit of painting by some politicians that it was, to enrich the folks from out of state, and it's kind of a inaccurate way of representing the program, but it had a really big impact, especially at the time, what the economy was at the time, and it's important that there's a clear message given out to legislators and through media and through whoever our advocates are, that this is for jobs and work here, so that we can export content through the rest of the country and throughout the world.
I'm Brian. I'm from Sinister Films. I work as a screenwriter and graphic artist, and hopefully seeking into directing, producing, and acting. And Sun Studios has been terrific, along with Sneaky Big, making their progress and leeway into bringing more jobs to Arizona. And I know that in 2009, the tax bill credits, actually 2010, correction, they sunsetted. And one of the dream projects that never was completed, that it was supposed to be completed in 2012, was Gateway Studios, which was supposed to be completed for $70 million in Mesa, Arizona, where I lived, and it was supposed to be one of the key components in helping to bring jobs back to Arizona, along that the tax credits would have helped suffice. But unfortunately, Governor Jan Brewer never made that happen, and I was thoroughly pissed about that. So I believe that this could happen again, but only with the tax incentives that had happened, and no prejudice and no disrespect to anybody at Sneaky Big or Sun Studios. They have done a phenomenal job here, and I know that Randy and you especially at AFMC are working diligently to work with lawmakers and legislators to help bring the tax credits and incentives back to Arizona. If I can be one of these people that can be one of the biggest and most prominent supporters of bringing the tax credits back to Arizona, so that perhaps even with this project that was sunsetted, that I can help make it rise again. We can not only bring this incredible dream that to many people was supposed to be a desert mirage to full reality.
Just a quick point of clarification. I'm not saying I'm for or against Jan Brewer, but realize that it never even made it to her desk, because it never made it to the floor to be voted on. So it was not the governor, it was the House, it was the legislature. I don't remember which one it got tied up in, but it was definitely not the governor's office for that. But also I will say that one of the issues that we have seen in the past is when studios get embedded into the bill. because it's then looked at very differently rather than a jobs creation bill. Now it's looking at sometimes more of a real estate play. So it needs to be walked a very fine line between the sound stages and bringing the projects in for job creation. Because a lot of the job creation on a construction site like that are construction jobs, and eventually maybe it will be the employees that are working on the film, but a lot of those initial upfront jobs that all those studios are talking about are on the construction side of things.
Are they done? Hello, can you hear me now? My name is Leo Taylor. I'm originally from New York, a state that currently has tax credits, but from what I've heard, may possibly be going away. When I used to live there, you know, there wasn't a lot of unification there, and I said years ago, you need to have a unified film community here, or this could go away. They're like, that'll never happen. Well, then I hear, well, gee, they may be taking our tax credits away. I'm like, well, I told you so years ago, and you didn't listen to me. So I moved to Arizona for the weather, primarily, because you don't have to shovel the sunshine here. And I found out there was a film community here, and I never knew that. So outside of Arizona, nobody knows. It's your best kept secret. So I said years ago that the Arizona film community needed to come together and unify, and people don't seem to understand unification. There is strength in numbers. And if you want the tax credits to come back, you have to provide some sort of incentive for that to happen, because there is a universal law of nature. If you do nothing, then nothing will happen. So to your point, people have to, you know, they have to do it. They have to make it happen. So my question, I currently have interest from a production company in Los Angeles that makes feature films in the $1 to $3 million budget range in a script that I have. My pitch to them has been, well, I'd like to make it in Arizona because the story is set there and it's cheaper to make it there even without the tax incentives, and they're interested. The only thing I have to do now is find a way to work with them to convince the investors to lay down the money. So the first part I'm working on is to produce a proof of concept trailer to show them what it's going to look and sound like, and that yes, we can do it here in Arizona. We have the tools and the talent to make it happen here. But I think the next part is going to be to come up with some sort of proof and how to convince the people that are writing the check to say, yeah, go make it in Arizona. So that's my question to you. How do I convince them? Thank you.
Hold on. This won't help you fast enough, but one of the things we're talking with the lobbyists and politicians about is an angel fund so that investors from Arizona can invest in films to be made here. So that's the kind of thing that should help.
So I had a similar conversation with the head of development and production at Miramax for film and television. He's a person who has a deep tie to Arizona. His father played football for the U of A. His fiance is a Wildcat. He has property and family in Tucson and in Phoenix. So he wants to, the same thing you asked, he's right now bidding a project, and there's 5 states in the running. And one of them is Arizona. So we're putting together through the research department, the ACA, exactly that proof. So we're actually going line by line, because we feel in that, particularly in that budget range, in the $1 to $5 million, you're not talking about finding $30 million in savings or $60 million in saving. You're talking about hundreds of thousands, which is much more doable. And on that point, Cast and Crew, which puts out the map of incentives across the country, is actually now considering, because of the Real Savings Program, putting Arizona onto the list of states that has some form of incentive program. This would be a huge departure for them. So what we really need is these kind of models, and if anyone has that kind of data, you know, we're looking really at crew rates in Arizona versus New Mexico and Georgia and things like that. That's the kind of thing that we need to do, and this is the kind of thing that you know, we're working on that right now because we talked to Miramax, we also talked to Mar Vista, which again does about 30 to 50 movies in that budget range. So I think that that's a really great niche for us, and I think we can prove that argument, and I've asked research to get me some of that data. So if anyone wants to be part of that and they have that kind of data, let's work together to make that argument, because Cast and Crew is seriously considering taking us off the naughty list and putting us on the nice list as a state that has an incentive program. So in the meantime, while we're supporting the AFMC and the more traditional approach, because it's a harder sell. If someone says I can take this number and I can multiply by 0.3, that's easy. But I do think there's enough people in Hollywood, in New York, and here who realize that if you start going line by line, it's actually cheaper without a tax credit. And I think that's something we can do in the interim to help strengthen our community. So if anyone has this kind of data, the state is looking at a project right now with Miramax for $5 million to try to show them that we can do this. So if anyone would like to be a part or has any numbers or wants to help out, call me.
Oh, thank you. Hi, my name is Dallas, and I would like to address kind of the education outreach, not just for workforce, but also for content development. Oh, okay, hi. Anyway, I'd like to thank, I work at a little school in the West Valley called Glendale, and I'd like to thank Matthew, who spent a lot of time coming and speaking to our students, being on our pitch panel, encouraging them. Where's Christy? Hey, girl. Christy and her company came out to Glendale and did site visits, worked with us to help us get a precedent for allowing outside companies to come and film on our campus, but with the caveat that 6 of our senior students get hired by the crew for the time of the shooting on location and get to shadow key positions and actually get put to work. And it was something that we all worked hard on, and it's a cool thing. Randy, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to bring our class down to your facility. I see you October 4th. And there's several other people. Some have skipped out. Hi, Phil. Steve Nebgen, who's ducked out on me. Steve likes to come and talk to our students about the legal aspect. We work with them on learning the business side of this and not just being PAs, but working in content development and understanding the business side of what we do. Let's see who, oh, almost forgot. He skipped out on me, and it's Darren. Darren has been a godsend to us. He gives up his time and talks to our students about the business we're all in. He loves to be on our pitch panel. He's sort of an urban legend around the school. When he's there, they crank it up a notch. But I would like to just say thank you and let everyone know that even the small schools get a hand, and we get a lot of encouragement and incentive from a lot of the folks on the panel, and I'll be reaching out to everybody as soon as I can. So I just want to let everybody know that there are things being done, and it's fun. Our students mostly look forward to staying in the Valley, but as was said, they want to develop content. We got creative young minds around here, and they understand the medium. So they want to stay, and thank you guys for giving them the encouragement and the incentive.
Hi. As a filmmaker from out of state, I would like a little bit of clarification, please. I'm here now, but in coming into the state, are the two groups represented here respectfully looking at their own agenda so that they are not overlapping in their mission? When I first came into the state, it was not clear who was leading, who was following, who was driving, who was doing what. So would you please clarify that you are working in tandem to grow film in Arizona?
You bet. So the two groups presented here, well, there's three. You know, we have the state offices and municipality offices, and then we have the APA. And APA is a nonprofit, non-lobbying organization. So they are an association to support the industry and the growth of the professionals within our industry. AFMC actually was started in part by APA, and APA reached out to all the other entities in the state to form a lobbying politically active group, and that's what AFMC is. And yes, we're working very close together on the benefit of the state. Yeah.
All right, we got two more last questions, and then, and then I'll wrap. Three.
Hi, just a quick question. The lobbyist that has been, is helping, is there a way to target those politicians that are not on board? For example, I want to reach out to my friends. I have a daughter. We have a daughter who's an actress, and she moved to LA, and quite honestly, we want her home. We want her working in Arizona. And so, you know, what I would like myself, my friends, our people that support our daughter and our family in this film industry, is to know who's being resistant. I'm sure the lobbyists know who's on board and who's not, and can we have that information?
Absolutely. All you have to do is go to the mobilization list at the AFMC website, register there, and we will be sending you that information. I can tell you right now, you know, the lobbyist called yesterday and said, 3 of the people, did I mention this? 3 people that we thought were going to sponsor our bill lost in the primary. He's looking, he needs us to make sure that everybody's running is going to be is going to be aware that we are a community and that we are voters and that we are large. And then after the election, he's going to talk to them, and then we'll let those people who live in anybody's district where there's a politician who's opposed to the film industry, we will let all the people in that district know so that they can call, say, I live in your district, I work in the industry, you get off the dime, we heard bad news about you, I don't want to hear it again. And the same thing with the politicians who are going to support us. This, and like I said, 7 calls, they change their direction. They wake up. So yes, Mom, that's important. All of us have a secret weapon we should all be employing. It's called Mom and Dad. They care that we make a living. Let's reach out. Let's get, it's our kids, our parents, our cousins, whatever it is. Get them on that mobilization list. We need to have that in the thousands, if not tens of thousands. So that's what you need to do, and we'll let you know.
Hi, I'm a writer primarily and story developer, and I kind of want to know a little bit more about what APA and the Film Media Coalition have for writers. I hear a lot of talk about crew and directors and all the techie stuff. I want to know what Pre-Pro has going, so I'd like to hear more about what you'll do to support writers and to ensure that our stories get pulled first and that we can find people to work with, because my biggest challenge is finding directors who will work with me. I don't want to be like, here's my script, bye, like in LA. I want to be a part of a team and to develop my stories with others.
Well, I'll go first and you can go next.
Okay.
Yeah. The incentives we're looking at, and we're working with the politicians to design particularly target writers and directors and producers who want to develop here. We're specifically going after homegrown content development. That is something our politicians love to hear. They want to hear more of that kind of stuff. So we're not only wanting to make it to do an incentive so that you get your film made, we want to do incentives so that every writer who's having films made in this country are moving to Phoenix, moving to Tucson, moving to Flagstaff, moving to Kingman, moving out here to Arizona, because their films will be made because they wrote them in Arizona.
I'll just share my very brief perspective is, again, on more the creative or the talent side. And I'm the president of the APA, and I'm not even eligible to be in the directory. And part of that was because I saw Bella Hibbs earlier, got a phone call from her. She said, hey, they need some talent for a lighting workshop. I go to it, sit there, get baked under lights a little bit, and realize I am learning so much about what's going on behind the scenes. It's going to make me better when I'm in front. And so for me, joining the APA made sense because there was a community that I could learn from and just be better at my craft because I understand the broader context. You know, on the writing front, I'm sure there's benefit from, again, just being within the community, meeting more individuals. And so, yeah, that's just a, yeah, Randy, I think, had a more technical and probably practical answer, but for me, that's what being part of the APA as talent has done for me. So, all right.
Yeah, I'll have just
last question, and then we'll wrap up.
Not a big question for Matthew. On your slides, you had it stated that we have all these community resource liaisons or something like to that matter.
Film resource coordinators. Yeah.
Coordinators. Okay. Can you tell us who they are and how did you find them and what do they do?
You can go to our website, GoFilmAZ, and if you go to film offices, you'll see the film offices that are sponsored by a city or by the state, and then you'll see the other 33 there. They're all listed, what part of the state is their area. Leah, are you here? Okay, Leah's a film resource coordinator. So that's where you can find them and and the areas they cover. And basically what they do is where there is not a film commission, they function in that capacity, but on a volunteer basis. Jay Leno's Garage was going to film near Maricopa, and it was kind of falling in between Phoenix and Tucson. And the state was at Sundance. And so they went and called her directly, and they booked the job. So by the time I heard about it, it was a done deal. That's a job we would have lost if we didn't have somebody there. So we have many people. Is that Chuck right there? Chuck Disney is our film resource coordinator in the Buckeye area. And yes, if the name sounds familiar, yes. So if you know, the film resource coordinator is a way that if you'd like to be part of the solution, you can do that. If you know, I go all through rural Arizona and people come to me and they say, I got this gun collection, I got these old cars, In LA, you walk down, you go to Warner Brothers or Universal Prop and Wardrobe Department. So we don't have that here. So we have to find another way to provide those assets. And the film resource coordinators are the eyes and ears of our community. They're boots on the ground, and they're often in areas where there's not a film commission from the local level. So if anyone here is interested in doing that, or if anyone here knows of any resources that we can market, don't be shy.
That's a round of applause. Yeah, can we once again thanks our panelists for coming. To Sun Studios for hosting, and thank you to all of you for being here. A very important final bit of housekeeping: take cookies. If you have kids, take cookies, and please spend a few minutes saying hello, networking, trade cards, and let's all work together for filming in Arizona. Thank you.